Hey, long time no cast. Today I am going to try and run through explaining the story of Forbidden Technique. It may be mostly for myself to get a better idea of how I walk through it when I speak it. But maybe it would be good for sharing with other people, even just the team or everyone. Because I think it's really cool and helps create some scenarios to test the mechanics that will be in throughout the game. Okay, so basically it starts out and you maybe see some blurry visions of you kind of reaching out for like an orby glowy thing, and maybe there's some prompts to have the player do that with their VR controllers, just like reach towards a point. And then as soon as they reach it, all the blurriness kind of sucks in, and there's a kind of huge sort of wormhole effect. And you end up standing in a bedroom in a sort of a ghostly form. You look down, your hands are like these kind of ghostly limbs, and in front of you there is a kind of like a teenage boy sitting there at the desk with like a notebook open. And you're there for a couple seconds, and then you have some sort of an indication, whether it's like graphical wires or something, that there's kind of like a magnetism between your limbs and the normal human, character in front of you sitting down. And so you kind of slowly are prompted to possess the character by basically just walking to the point in which you're overlapping it, kind of taking over the posture, the position of the character. And so once you do that, there's kind of a slow attaching effect. and then you just are that character, and you feel your arms, and that's pretty cool. And then you're prompted, or there's some glowing or something like that, to pick up the pen and kind of run it around along the journal, as if you're going to write. And then you kind of see it kind of does its own animation where the hand starts writing down words. And maybe I haven't exactly decided what the words are going to be. But one thing it could be might be who am I, or I can't remember anything, or maybe it would be a memory, which of course the player wouldn't know because they're just taking care. So maybe it would be the former life of the character before the player took over their body, kind of saying, today is my first day of school. I'm excited, or I'm a. Kind of sucks that summer is over, but it is what it is. Something, maybe something like that. Kind of accessing the thoughts of the character that you have inherited. And maybe that's a theme throughout the whole game, is that it's less trying to be exactly who you are, but you're a spirit that has inherited a full person, and you are trying to make the best decisions given the options that they are capable of. It's kind of the spectrum of free will determinism, or constraints on free will. Like, you have so many options, and you as the spirit are, trying to make the best choices from those options rather than being able to do literally anything, which of course in a game creation sense is not possible anyways. So anyways, you get like a line or two out on the journal, and then maybe there's some sort of weird effect where your ghostly arm disconnects from the human hand, and it does the writing, and you can kind of move your hand freely of that, and then when it's done, you can like repossess it. And maybe they even hint to the dualism and the disconnect between the character and who they've been up until this point in their life and the player. And it says, like, I feel like some vertigo, or like almost as if my body is running on its own, which would be kind of ominous and kind of cool and kind of give the player a feeling. It's a little bit breaking the fourth wall, but it's also because it's in VR and you're literally possessing the main character. It's kind of real as well. So maybe not too bad of a fourth wall break. But anyways, so you do that, and so like, oh, school. So you look towards the door, which allows you to go to the kitchen, and in the kitchen, there's maybe a note, or like maybe like your class schedule or something like that. First class is like English or something, and so you have that. Or when you look at the schedule, then you kind of get the quest pop up. Go to school. And I guess the quest pop-ups kind of indicate that you have choices, but in this case, you need to go to school the first day, I think. So once you see your notebook, maybe you reach out and it disappears into your inventory or something like that. And then you can look towards the doorway to the front door of the apartment, and if you look at that, it like kind of highlights and will show you, go to school. So you hit trigger on that, and then it pops you into the kind of standing up, just entering the doors of a subway, and you can select from a couple different like seated positions maybe. Or maybe it's crowded and you can't. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, you can kind of choose where to sit. And just as the doors are about to close, the main girl, you kind of see her running towards the doors, and it's kind of like, oh hey, hold the door, and you're prompted to hold the door. And then she says thank you because she's able to get on the subway in time, and she sits across from you, and you talk to her some. And during this exchange, the game kind of explains how talking works, how all decisions matter because all decisions have tiny effects on your relationship with the person and how they perceive you. And that all people have rules to their personalities and things that they like and don't like. And it explains the kind of touchpad pressing explosion of options and how you can say different things. Yeah. Yeah, so and I think all those first options should be really fun. Have different effects on how she reacts to it. But anyways, to kind of show that depth. So you talk with her a little bit, and maybe she says, "Well, maybe I'll see you on the way home." And so you go to school, and when the subway gets there, then you're looking at the doors exit. Will be like, go to class, and so we go to school, and then you're teleported from the school, and then highlighting on the front doors of the school will be like, go to class, and then you're teleported into the front door, or just inside the front door of the classroom for your first class English. And you're a little bit late, and so the teacher says something. Oh, it's okay to be late on the first day. Maybe you even have a conversational exchange with her, which is when she was like, you can make an excuse, or just say like, kind of like, oh, I'm sorry. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. And then you are again prompted with kind of like the highlight to select which desk to sit at, except in this instance, because the game makes you late, you only have one option, which is towards the back of the room and the only empty seat. So you sit there, and the guy next to you says hi, and you say hello. And then maybe the teacher prompts you to like, okay, today we're going over the syllabus. Make sure you get out a pencil to go over and take notes. And so you are then prompted that you do not have a pencil, and so you ask your new friend to your left if he has a pencil, and he says no, he doesn't have an extra pencil. No, he doesn't have an extra pencil. And then the girl, like maybe up and to the left, hears you and says like, oh, here, you can borrow one of mine. And then she kind of leans over and gives you a pencil, at which point it kind of slow-mos or pauses the game, and it says, checking out girls will give you checking out girls has to be done cautiously, or checking out girls can alert them and cause them to negatively impact the player's reputation and their relationship. So make sure not to get caught, and it'll explain the different meters or something. And this will be, her leaning over backwards in her seat to give the pencil, maybe make her shirt droop, and you can see her boobs in just her bra or something like that from the angle through like the gap in her shirt. And depending on whether you do a good job or not, she'll either be, she won't notice, or she'll be like, or maybe she'll give you a quick reproach, like, hey, you're welcome, or some, sassy, like, are you staring at my tits or something? Anyways, so that happens. That kind of explains that system, and at that point, there's no one really to talk to, and the teacher's like going blah, 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 blah. Maybe it kind of even morphs to a blah, 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 and you can choose whether to pay attention or to pay attention or to kind of doze off by putting your head down on your hands. Anyways, so you either way, then the class kind of goes into a fast forward mode, and for all intents and purposes, there will be other classes, but I'm going to skip that for now in this kind of demo version of the game, and and go straight to after school. You get on. Maybe it puts you out front of the front doors of school, and you go to. It says, go home. So then you're on the subway, and you choose your seat again, and this time you might choose to sit across from the girl again. And then you talk some more, and some of the things that she's saying are starting to sound a little ominous, like, I don't know, either something about, like, are you feeling okay, or something about, did you have any weird dreams last night or this morning? Kind of probing in a kind of weirdly suspicious way, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe it's just kind of nice and like, oh, we should be friends, kind of stuff. Like, oh, let's hang out. I don't know anyone from here, and so you kind of feel like it's going great. And then as it gets to your stop, you as it gets to your stop, she's like, oh, do you want to hang out? And, she kind of gets up quicker than you and, steps outside, like, this is your stop too, right? And as you're about to select to get off the bus and maybe hang out with her, the doors slam close and the train takes off into the tunnel, and then slows down and the lights go off. At which point, big spirit monster, or a potential monster comes and like kind of envelops you. Seems to like swell and swallow you whole. And so things get a little bit dark, and the lights start flickering, and then basically your human body, falls down to the ground, kind of unconscious, and you're back in your ghostly form. And back in your ghostly form, but you're kind of restrained. By the potential, and potential meaning the potential monster, and then the doors slide open next to your body, and a couple of guys jump in and grab your body, and then jump out, and then one last guy jumps in and looks at you, and then says, "We'll see you in Merge." And then the wormhole starts, where similar to the very beginning of the game, the wormhole goes again, but maybe in reverse this time, and you're kind of sucked into the spirit world Merge, short for emergence, because it is where all emergent or human emergent properties of agency are born, or something like that. It doesn't have to be. This is definitely not explicitly stated to the player at all. But yeah, it's called Merge. And so then you end up in Merge, and I'm not exactly sure where you're placed, but in either like a field or maybe in some sort of building, so it's more of a big reveal when it turns out that you realize that you're not on Earth because of like the planets or the mountains or some environment of some kind. So you're there, and then you're standing there and potentially naked, I'm not sure, and in front of you the potential now reforms into a cuter pet that seems relatively harmless, and then there's like an unconscious body in front of you that looks like the guy that just said, "I'll see you in Merge," and then his eyes open and he gets up and introduces himself and starts to kind of give the basic idea of what's going on, which is that you are now unlocked, which means you can use powers, and you have a duty to farm spirit monsters to save the world, because there's not enough spirit essence for the potentials, and so a growing percentage of the population are autopilot zombies with no ability to really think or choose or achieve great things like they used to be able to. Maybe that's too much explanation. It's just like, and it's your duty to, because there's not enough to go around. And maybe the game gives a shout out to that the player's going to be pretty confused by this and want to know more, like, what do you mean? And Garrett's just like, there's plenty of time, go over that. Also, if you don't farm, you will slowly die. And then they're like, and all other... and then main girl runs in with the rest of the crew that dragged your body out. And, they take a look, and they're like, oh, I don't know if he's special, but he's supposed to be really strong. And maybe they're like, so, main girl, what were you doing? Or, like, were you trying to double-cross us or something like that? And you're a little bit surprised that she's mixed up in all this, but you're not exactly sure what her role in all of it is. And so after a little bit more talking, then it's kind of decided that main girl is going to take you under her wing and show you how to use your powers. Maybe because you're not able to access them immediately, which is a little bit surprising. Like, you're really powerful, but maybe struggle to control it. Something like that would probably make sense. I like the raw power, but the extra, steroided power makes it more difficult to control, kind of thing. Which would get back to how you seemingly detach, or the character as it was before you possessed him, seems to still be in there, sort of. Yeah, so it's understood that main girl is going to kind of take care of you and or at least show you how to use your powers so you can start farming, and it gives you a couple tidbits of information on how it works. Here's the spirit monsters. You gotta throw spells at them so that the spirit essence breaks off, and they eventually, kind of implode. From which you get some experience that helps you can stop from deteriorating, and then that also goes to the potentials to give another life meaning. And maybe part of that sequence that follows that is you realize that your powers are intrinsically connected to your sex drive, and so checking out girls is a big part of where you earn XP. And that will do it for now.